So one of the first practices that we teach folks are affective statements, right? Once they've got the concepts and they've been chewing on those, they ask, all right, how do we practice this stuff? What do we do? What is something that I can do? And we give them the affective statements, those I statements that express emotion, connected behavior. So why is that important? What is our responsibility as practitioners towards affective statements?
I think what I love about affective statements is they require an internal processing rather than what we're used to, which is external, right? And so if I'm feeling something, I must go find someone to blame for this thing, rather than how do I assess and analyze what needs of mine aren't being met? What are the language I'm using to express those needs? And then am I really being fair in what I'm demanding from those around me? And I really do think that affective statements is really one of the keys of people understanding the rest of restorative practices. If you can take accountability for yourself and your needs and how you express it, everything else gets easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's phenomenal. Oftentimes when we talk about these things, people will say it seems so simple, when we talk about it, but actually carrying it out is a real challenge. I think exactly for some of the things that you just said. If I'm feeling something that, is, intense or uncomfortable, or maybe even sometimes really, really positive, we're not used to articulating that, right? We're not used to sharing that with somebody else in a way that makes sense that they can connect to, right? And so we do all kinds of other behaviors, particularly if it doesn't feel particularly good. We do all kinds of things to not have to face that and to blame and to judge and if I'm feeling this way and it's bad, then it must be your fault, so you got to fix it and all of that. The affective statements moves us out of that, right? And helps us to be able to speak directly to what's going on and its impact on us and those around us.
And I think one of the common themes that's we've been weaving through every single piece of these discussion points is humanity, right? Yes. Right, recognizing the humanity in one another. And to me, affective statements really allows us to humanize ourselves and each other. And like you said, we don't really talk this way, right? And I find that, that's one of the things that the pushback that comes in the work that we do with people. I don't talk like that. That's not how I say something to somebody.
It's going to be weak. Yeah.
But so that becomes the challenge, right? So in our practice, how do we show up as the beautiful human beings that we are with all of these emotions? And, I think sometimes we label positive, negative, but to me, like, all emotions are good. Mm-hmm. All of these feelings are so good. But we're so, as a society, uncomfortable with feeling.
That's right.
And articulating those feelings, that to put ourselves in that very vulnerable space and say, I feel this way when you do this, and I need you to do this instead. Whew, like, it just like floors many people. And while it's one of the most simple pieces of the work, it's also, to me, what I found one of the most challenging.
Yeah, I agree. I think a take on the cognitive triad, right, where we have, behavior, thoughts, and emotions, right? A take on it is more concentric circles, where when we talk about communication and what we feel, we're most comfortable, right, communicating with our behavior, right? And then it's communicating with our thoughts. And the place where we're least comfortable and more vulnerable is communicating with our feelings, right? Absolutely. And so that's precisely where I think affective statements come in, because it allows us to increase our emotional vocabulary, right? And it doesn't always feel good, but it is precisely the most informal of our restorative practices. But it is, so it's the most informal, so we can do it all day, every day, right? But it's the thing that probably asks the most of us. So it's one of the hardest things to do, which makes it the thing that people tend to stay away from, because it's one of the hardest things to do. Yeah. And I think, why don't we just give an example? What's an affective statement that you've made recently? What's one that comes to mind?
Actually, my siblings, so one of the things that I've been doing, because I always say, we say restorative practices is not something you do, it's a way of being. So even with my younger siblings, who be getting on my nerves, Lord Jesus. And my brother, he wasn't doing something that he was supposed to be told, he was supposed to do, and he knew it because he was looking in my eyes. And normally I'd be like, get your little self over here. And I say, hey, Neo, when you do this, I really don't like it because this is how it makes me feel. But even then, really sitting with him, what I loved the most was it was the first time that he got to experience like true vulnerability, that beauty of affective statements, where it wasn't just like, you get on my nerves, little brother. It was like, that kind of hurt my feelings, right? And I think that he loved it. Now he uses it all the time.
Yeah, that's what came up for me real quick in a situation. This is my family, and again, you teach people and go around and do all this type of stuff. But said, I was hurt by that, and it was powerful. And it's not that things were going off the rails, but it really kind of shifted, the conversation and how people were responding to things.
So here's an affective statement. Belfina and Steve, I am proud of how vulnerable the two of you just were. There we go.
That felt good. That felt really good. That felt good.
I'm willing to do that again.
Yeah, let's do more.